Alright, welcome back to Pydini doing stuff and filming it. This video marks the start of, well, an experimental series that I'm thinking of doing. The other night, me and my partner were yakking away to each other, putting the world to rights, and somehow the talk of old technology came up. I think we were talking about shortwave radio, then we were on to old phones, and old Nokias and Blackberries from back in the day. And I remembered that I still have this little beauty. Now, it's an Oregon Scientific DB-133 electronic organizer. Now, I've had this since, I'd say, the mid-90s. I can't remember exactly. I remember it was a Christmas present. I was very young. I was still at primary school, my first primary school, before they closed it down and demolished it. And I remember just thinking it was the best thing ever. I used this all day, every day, for as long as I could. And about until the first smartphones started coming along. I had one of the early generation iPhones. It was the iPhone 3G that I had. And yeah, I loved this little thing. It's fantastically 90s. They had similar things in the 80s as well. And what it is if we open it up, it's just a little thing for storing bits of useful information. So you have phone numbers. This button here is netbook. You could store email addresses, useful websites, etc. Little memos to yourself. Then you had an alarm. And this also had a worldwide clock. You could cycle through the different time zones here and it'd tell you what time it was at various cities around the world. And of course it had a basic calculator as well. A number of other functions, I think you can see, which we'll get into later on. But that is it. It has a 42 kilobyte memory, if I recall correctly from an instruction book I looked up online. People used to carry these around and keep it closed. As you can see, it's about the size of a modern smartphone, maybe a little smaller. You can picture yourself using it something like that. Much lighter, it barely weighs anything. Now, it's not working at the moment. You can see if I press the power button. The reason being is the battery in it is completely flat. I did think that I had some spare batteries for another device that I was getting working, but unfortunately it takes these beauties. These are CR2032 button batteries. I don't have any more, so I've ordered one. When it comes, we'll pop it in the back and we'll get it going. I'll have a look. But yeah, I've got a few other little bits around here. I've got an old 80s radio that I'm going to work on and try and get going. I believe that actually picks up shortwave if you have it on the correct setting. And there's all sorts of stuff like this around my house. I just love old things like this. They're just from a time gone by. Like I say, a 42 kilobyte memory. It's just nothing. I have simple Word documents that are larger than that nowadays. It literally just stores plain text only using the QWERTY keyboard, and not very much of it. But I love this little thing, and I'm going to keep hold of it, well, for as long as I'm alive, really. There's a lot of memories in this. But yeah, once the battery arrives, we'll get it fired up. It should still work. When I took the battery out, as you can see, it's intact. It hasn't burst, as some batteries do. It feels maybe a little swollen, but I don't know if that's how they're meant to be. But yeah, all the contacts are still in one piece. It was working when I put it away in the cupboard. I mean, it's been going, getting on for 30 years now, 25, 30 years, so there's no reason for it to stop working now. So yeah, we'll get it going. And we'll go through the functions, and I thought this might be of interest to some people. So yeah, we'll just wait for the battery to arrive and then we'll go from there. Okay, so it is now Friday afternoon and the battery arrived just a couple of hours ago. Actually really quite impressive. Like, you do get some good sellers on eBay. I ordered the battery Wednesday night, and yeah, it was posted yesterday. Arrived today, so yeah, happy with that. It wasn't actually supposed to come until Monday, so here it is. Nice new battery, CR2032 cell. So we're going to pop this in and see if it works. I'm betting on yes. Because, as I said earlier, I've had this thing for, well, 25 years at least. And it's been perfect. So there we go. You can see that on the inside here. That's where the battery goes, and this is just where you can store a spare, as it says right there, backup. It's got this little bit of foam glued into it. I don't think you can press a battery into there. Oh no, you could. I should have ordered two. I could probably press one in there, keep a spare. Never mind. Can't get that out now. Never mind, we'll just use it in the original one. They're not expensive, aren't these things? And you can clearly always order more and they'll arrive quite quickly. So, yeah, pop that in there. Snap that shut. Just screw this down. Going to do it gently up, finger tight, no point over tightening it. Let's see if they all go and turn on. Aha! There's life in her already. It says reset. I'm going to go with no. Oh, I'll just have it away. Look at that. She lives. For some reason it thinks it's yes, the 14th of June 2021, and it's a Monday, and then it's 6:20 at night. But then again, it hasn't had batteries in it for, well, a long time. So yeah, impressed with that. The old girl works. Just quick change of camera angle, and we'll go through the various features that are in it. Alright, so, got it working. We're just going to have a quick look through the functions and features of the old organizer, and I've turned it off for the purposes of this, but the on button's simple here. Turn it on, you turn it off. So this is the clock. Naturally, of course, it's wrong, although it does seem to have held its last point since it last had a good battery in it, which is interesting. So we'll have a look in here. So now I want to set this. So I believe we say yes, edit. So I'm just going to change this to, it's now 2022, and the date, what date is it today? Bloody hell, I think it's the 10th, the 10th of March. So we're going to set this to 03, the 10th, and the current time is 2:39 p.m. So with 14:39, there we go. Set. For some reason it thinks it's Thursday. It's not Thursday. I don't know why it thinks that. Let's see if we can change that. Cycle through all of this. Must be a way to change that, because it's not Thursday, it's Friday. No, that is rather unfortunate. Has to be a way to change this. Let me see. Well, that turns daylight savings time off and on again. We're not in daylight savings time at the moment. Oh, there goes the ring light. Well, fortunately you can still see me. This is going really fucking well, this video so far, isn't it? Let's pull up a chair and see what we can do with this. So I think it's going to have to be edit. Change that to the 11th. Oh, that was just me getting the date wrong. Cock. Alright, so it's actually the 11th. I don't know why I thought it was the 10th. It was the 10th yesterday. Oh, fuck it. So there we go. That's the set, and it's now able to work it out, correctly I might add, where everyone else is. So yeah, because we're still in, we could call winter time. We haven't put the clocks forward yet here. Paris is naturally 2 hours ahead of us. I'm going to look really stupid if that's wrong. No, I'm fairly sure that's right. Anyway, yeah, Berlin, which is the same time as Paris. Guessing that's Rome, Helsinki, and you see it just goes through all the different time zones, getting progressively further ahead of us. See, it's now, I think that's Hong Kong. Yeah, I think so. See, it's getting on for midnight. Carry on. And you can see, I'm guessing TYO's Tokyo. It's already tomorrow there. Keep going round. See. Oh, we've come back around. So we're now behind. It's 20 to 6 in the morning, wherever that is. We'll keep coming round. New York. This is all kind of making sense now. And then we're back to London. So it does time around the world. And when you remember what day it is, it actually works out the correct date. Interesting, it's actually able to do that. I don't know what kind of calendar this holds in it, but all you do is set the year and, you know, just put the date in. It knows what day of the week it is. Like 25, 30 years afterwards. So I might have a play around with this later and see if I just keep dialing the years up and up, how far ahead it will work it out, and we'll see if it's accurate, but we'll do that later on. So for now, I've been having a bit of a play around with this off camera, and if we go to memos, you can see the memory is currently sat at 86%. That's because I've just been punching in a few things. So here I just typed in the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dogs, because why not? So this section, as the title suggests, you would store little memos for yourself, you know. So I put in here, I've just been punching in random stuff here, tests, and then all the way along, and yeah, all the way to the end. So, and I've put make organizer video. Well, I'm fucking doing that now.
That's so meta.
Buy milk, and then put buy eggs, milk, butter, crisps, beer, batteries. Light, that was going to be light bulbs, but of course there's a limit to how long you can make them, so I got as far as light. So, and then that's the end of it. It says not found when there's nothing else, and you can go either way and it just displays them in the other order. On the memo front, so if we start, so making memo, if we needed to go back, you just type over it, making a memo. Now you can just save that, you just press enter and it stores it. If we just go back to it and press enter now, see, we're back on this top line, which will allow us to put pretty much anything on the keyboard in, so we can put numbers in here as well. If we press edit, we can then come down to this second line. Now we can't put any letters in there, but we can put numbers in. So yeah, so it will allow us to do that. So if we were to put in, say, call mum, fine, and you could then just store their number in there. So you could, that's not actually a number, I just punch that in randomly. Don't ring that number, anyone who's watching. I don't know whether it will connect, and if it does, the person on the other end of the phone's going to have no fucking idea who you are. So yeah, so you could do that, which is also quite handy. So you could have all these, and you could say, call mum on that number. Quite useful. And you see it shows all your other ones in there as well. So that's it. And each time you enter one, you notice this little memory goes down. This has a 42 kilobyte memory in it, which is absolutely tiny. I mean, we've been talking on this video for 7 minutes now, and it's probably already over a gigabyte. It's just many thousands of times bigger than this thing. But back in the day, that was all you needed. You have to remember this in the context of the time. I mean, I got this in the mid-90s. It was probably in production before then. So you're talking 30-year-old technology sitting here. So, yeah, so that was more than enough. So we'll just have a look at this other function, phone, which works very similar to memos, except rather than saying memo, question mark, it now says name. Now I've punched in a few dummy entries. So you just put Stuart, and then you would have the number underneath. Again, not a real number. Don't try to ring it. It probably won't work. And I put, yeah, another one, Stuart 2. That's all I've put in. And yes, you can scroll it along. And what it allows you to do is you can actually put a lot in here if you wanted to. So if we make a new entry, let's say we wanted to put in Davison. Now at this point we can just keep typing on the end of here, so we could then just put in his number straight after it. Let's say that was his number, and it would store it. The problem is when you come to it, you have to scroll it along to look at it. And in this case, we've got to scroll it along twice. So what we'll do instead, go back to phone, is let's say we put in Harry Haroldson. Now rather than just saving it directly after it here, we press this button here, and we can store it on this second line. So let's say we're doing 07890. Let's say we're putting in his mobile 6767. I don't know, 45. Yeah, I don't know. Not a real number. Just making it up as we go along. So you'd save it, and then it displays it all together, and you get the whole phone number on one line on the first page. Yeah, really quite a nice thing. The name doesn't quite fit, but then he's got a stupid name. So there you go. And what it would also allow you to do, so we'll just edit this one rather than type it all in. So you would have all this in, and you can type, but this will keep going quite a bit longer. So Harold Haroldson, son of, I don't know, Dave. Now you can't put punctuation in here. Well, you can put a little bit in. So we'll put, let me see what can we put in. It doesn't appear to have, oh, it does have a comma. Son of Dave, and then we'll put, I don't know, leader of, I don't know, leader of the Garden Kingdom. See, we can't get all that in, but it was worth a try. So you could, yeah, so you put leader of, I don't know, let's try someone put leader of the undead. Close enough. Not quite spelling undead right, but yeah, screw it. So save that. So it lets you put a good long ass name in. But then you can also, as well as having a really long name, you can put multiple numbers in. So you would come along here, so we'll have that number, and then we'll put in another. Let's pretend it was his landline. Again, fake number, don't ring it. Store that. So there we are, so we have Harold Haroldson, and we can scroll it along and view both numbers. And you can put a third or even a fourth number in there before you run out of space. And of course, if you do run out of space, well then you can just put in, say, Harry 2, and then you've got all the space again to put more in. So yeah, quite a useful little bit of kit for that. You have to think, if you look at the rate that it's going down, we're just punching random crap in, you get a reasonable number of phone numbers in this. Obviously not compared to the thousands that you can store in a modern smartphone, but in the context of the the early to mid 90s, this was quite a bit of kit. So we'll just have a look at the last few. Netbook. Now this works slightly differently. So I've stored in here, just for the sake of it, I've stored an entry called Google. Now that will allow me to put in as much text as you like, just as much as the others, but you don't get the second line underneath. And what you actually get is you press enter on this, and then there's a second page. So I've stored in here google@googlemail.com. It's an email address. And you press enter again, there's a third page. So I've just said google.com/mail. There's a website address. And that's what you get. So let's start off making another one. So let's say if I put in my name, if you press enter, it just stores it, and then you just have one that says Stuart. We press this, and then you press enter again. So then we go to net. So let's say it was Stuart, and then you press the symbol one for Stuart.com, or you could make it. You see, you don't have an insert, so it's just going to type over it here. Oh no, it will. Then you're just going over it. So yeah, so we'll just do www.stuart.com, and I could just insert a load of spaces before it and then just type it in. But as I say, so yeah, Stuart.com, not a real web address. Well, it might be, I don't know. And then I want to go to the next one. So we'll do Stuart. Yeah, so we'll do Stuart.com, And then we have to press symbol to find the forward slash. And this is forward slash video. Enter. So yeah, the netbook function is different from the others, in that your entries can have 3 pages to them. So yeah, it says at the bottom here, I don't know if you can see that, name, and then net, which, I mean, it doesn't really matter what order you put them in. So I've just gone with website first, and then something else afterwards. Or let's say look at the Google one. So googlemail.com. That's an email address first, and then some sort of website after. It doesn't really matter what order you put them in, I suppose. So yeah, so the netbook allows you to have 3. Interestingly, when you're putting something in, so it asks you, do you want to put in a net address or a note? Well, I've been putting in, yeah, net address. So you can put website or email, and then, I don't know, whatever you like afterwards. So let's see, we'll put this in. So net address, let's just put, I don't know, hg.com. And then a note to just put, not real. There we go. And that stores it. But you don't get the second line. There's no way to access that, it seems. So if we were to put FG, and then, well, no, I don't want to do that. So we'll skip to note. I'll just go back to the start. You can just start, but you can't, there's no way to access this bottom line like you have with this. So this one, when you press the edit button, it then lets you put numbers in. So yeah, that's the main way it differs. You get 3 pages, you could say, but you know second line, whereas these will allow you to have different lines. So yeah, so that's it. And if we go back to just one of these pages, the memory is now down to 76% from all the information that we've entered. And most of that, if I'm honest, is probably me just bashing random crap in. See, I just did this to fill it up, and you see I've filled it all the way along. So if we were to say, let's delete this. See, the memory's gone up by quite a bit there, because I've deleted just the really long memo. So if you just made short ones, like I've put here, buy milk, call mum, you could get quite a lot in here. Quite a lot of stuff that you have to do throughout the day will be stored in here. And the same with the phone numbers. If you just store simple numbers each time, you know, don't have to be all as long as that. You just store name and phone number, especially if it's 1 number each, you'll get a lot in here. Interestingly, whilst I was playing around with it, this top line seems to take up a lot more memory than this bottom line. You could fill this bottom line up all the way to the end, only a little bit of text, and it doesn't take up nearly as much memory as filling just the top line up and nothing underneath. There's an interesting little thing there about how it's storing it. Clearly letters take up more space than numbers. I don't know, but there we go. So final function, calculator. It's a fairly simple calculator. It doesn't have any of the scientific functions on them. You just have your memory recall, memory minus, memory plus, plus, minus, multiply, divide, point, and equals on here. The enter button isn't the equals button, which is a bit counterintuitive, but never mind. So yeah, that's all it does. So oh look, there is something stored. Yeah, 10,001, whatever that means. So we'll just cancel that out, get rid of it, and reset. So now there's going to be nothing stored. Good. So yeah, so that's how it works. So you'll just punch in, obviously letters don't do anything here, so you do 6, and I don't know if you can see it on there, next to the T, the Y, the U, the I, the O, and the P is the basic function. So we'll do 6 times 6, and then, as I said, enter does nothing, so you press P here with the equal sign next to it, and you get 36. And then you could do, let's say, minus 7, 29. That's pretty much it. And you've got these other functions here, you know, square root, percentage. It's just basic calculate function. That's all it does. Now, I suspect they added that just because they could, and it was, you know, an extra selling feature, because if you're carrying around multiple devices, you know, you would have your phone, big 90s bloody phone, not a smartphone. You would probably have like a paper notebook or file of fax with you. You'd be carrying this. Chances are you'd have a calculator somewhere on your desk or something. But I suppose if you're on the go, you're maybe not carrying your calculator with you. So this will be quite handy just to work out. But yeah, in the office, I don't really see why they've added that. But there we go. I was around, but I was very young. I certainly wasn't designing electronic products in the 90s. So that's basically it. That's all there is to it. It's a very simple device. And a lot of people might say that this is primitive. And, well, it is. And they would say, well, why have you kept this useless piece of junk? Well, because I loved this thing when I was a kid. It was a Christmas present. I used it for its intended purpose for a long time, pretty much until I got the first generation smartphones. The first smartphone I had was an iPhone 3G, which, despite being called the 3, was actually the second generation because apparently Apple can't count. And that was in the early 2000s that I got that. So yeah, I was using this right up until that point. So yeah, remember, in the context of the time, this was quite the bit of kit, and a lot of people carried devices similar to this. If you go online and type in electronic organizer, there's loads of them come up, including some of these that are still brand new and in their box. I'm tempted to get one. So yeah, it's completely redundant nowadays. Like I said, the memory, you can get many thousands of times the memory in a modern smartphone. Memos, type it into your smartphone, or in my house, I can just speak and make a memo. I have the Google Home Hub throughout the house. So I just speak and then the memo is transmitted to my phone and all my other devices. Phone book. I can store thousands upon thousands of contacts in my phone. I mean, this will never do that. And the same with email addresses. You know, I mean, those two functions are combined on modern smartphones. So yeah, there's absolutely no reason to own one of these anymore. But I still think it's a brilliant bit of kit, just for the fact that it's working after all this time. But also, it's a nice little trip down memory lane to see how people organise themselves 25, 30 years ago. So yeah, I'll stop talking now. I've gone on long enough going through it. And that is the Oregon Scientific DB-133 electronic organiser. Interesting, I had a quick look on Oregon Scientific's website. They are still making products. They're still making stuff out there. Not phones, but yeah, various things. So I'm going to go have a look and see what else they're still doing. I don't know if they're still doing electronic organisers like this. I'd struggle to believe that they are. They're probably making, you know, scientific calculators, which can fetch a pretty penny nowadays as well. And various other things that are still relevant. But I doubt they're making stuff like this anymore. If they are, I might just buy one. Yeah, we'll have that. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. As I said earlier, this is going to be the first video in a series on old technology. I've got a lot of bits and bobs around the house that I mostly used as ornaments. I don't want to throw them away, but I think I've got some time coming up, some time off from work. So yeah, I think we're going to dig them all out and we'll resurrect them and we'll have a look at how they work. So yeah, each one's a little bit of history on its own. And yeah, we'll see what we can do with it. It'll make a nice, interesting series. So yeah, for now, thank you for watching.